Namaste everybody and welcome. One of the key components to a lot of the movement sequences that we do are dictated by the breath. And we can use the breath and integrate the breath in many different ways regarding our movement practices and our relationship to movement. One of the great aspects of the breath is that it starts to illuminate different things that are taking place in the body. It's a great tool for creating awareness within and around specific body parts and how we may feel into those aspects of the body. So one thing that we can start to use the breath once we have that kind of foundation of utilizing the breath to increase felt experience of the body is by maybe channeling the breath in terms of right and left side of the body, right and left hemisphere. And so one way that we can do that is by doing movements that are moving either across the body or just implementing opposite arm to leg and so forth. So what we're going to do today is do a little bit of movement and then come back into a seated position and see how that movement has now allowed us with breath to now maybe channel the breath in a slightly different way. So we're going to get started on a hands and knees position just to wake up the spine a little bit of movement back into a seated position. So hands and knees. So from here, I'm in a hands and knees position again, just setting up the body appropriately. Palms shoulder distance apart, wrist creases a little bit out in front, and knees are going to be relatively speaking hip distance underneath of the frontal hip points. So I'm just going to exhale everything out. I ground down through my palms, and I'm just going to slowly move through the spine from pelvis to skull, back and forth. So as I inhale, I tilt the pelvis towards the ceiling, wheel the chest forward through the upper arms, so extension through the front of the spine. Maybe the gaze goes a little forward. And then exhale the opposite. So pelvis tilts, belly lifts, looking back at the thighs, rounding. Inhale, I lengthen my chest forward through the upper arms. So just the opposite direction. We'll just move through that a couple of times. Exhaling, slow and control. Inhaling extension. It's almost as if you're moving through each vertebra of the spine. Couple more variations. Exhale. And inhale, slow and control. Last one, just like that. Exhale. And inhale. Good, and then if you need to, just taking a little break, maybe sitting back onto the heels, maybe standing up if that's appropriate. Now we're going to move on from that same sequence, and we're just going to extend the arm with the opposite leg. So now we're really working with those two channels, right and left side of the body. So again, sitting up just like we started. And then as I inhale, I'm going to extend my left leg and reach my right arm out in front. And I'm just going to keep my left toes on the ground. So just notice if you start to sway side to side, see if you can keep the belly a little lifted, chest is still extending forward. Notice if there's any rotation in the posture. Trying to keep that neutral spine, long spine, while we extend one arm with one leg. Take a deep breath, and then slow and control. We take the hand back down, and the leg comes back to neutral to the other side. So I inhale, I extend my left arm, I extend my right leg. So just like the first side, just checking in, noticing where the belly is, what's happening with the low spine, extending through that right leg, and just trying to reduce that rotation in the posture. Take one more full deep breath. Exhale, slowly take the hand and the knee back down. And we'll just move through that a couple times on the breath. So I inhale, right, left leg. Exhale, slowly come down. So it's just opposite arm to leg. Inhale, left arm, right leg. Exhale, slowly coming down. Inhale, extend. Exhale, slowly coming back down. Inhale, extend. Exhale, slowly coming back down. Good. 2 more each side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale, extend. And exhale, slowly release. Good. And either just coming to a seated position, or if it's appropriate, you can either just stand up for a moment, or depending on what's going to be most appropriate for you, maybe even a downward facing dog, just to allow the body to invert just slightly after that little bit of movement. So keeping a little bit of a bend into the backs of the knees if you're taking that downward facing variation, and really grounding through the palms. Slowing the breath down. Long spine. And then slowly lowering back down when you're ready. And then we're going to come back into that seated cross-legged position. So I have a bolster, a blanket might be helpful. And then just slowly coming cross-legged Sukhasana. If seated is not appropriate, you can always lay down onto the back, maybe put something underneath of the knees for support, or just bending the knees and placing the soles of the feet onto the floor. But after that little bit of movement, especially throughout the spinal column, stabilize of the spine, and then that integration of right to left side, we're going to move into an even breath. So we're just trying to even out the inhale and even out the exhale. And with that, we'll slowly start to focus and imagine the breath moving via each side of the body, the spine, right to left side. So just to begin, just placing the palms onto the thighs, the knees, allowing the body to settle into the seat, uprighting the spine enough without creating a rigidness to the body. And then just starting to move into that even breath, allowing the belly to expand as you inhale and release as you exhale. And just a few cycles like that, keeping the body nice and soft, long and stable. And then as you start to move into a natural rhythm of breath where the attention is really focusing on that inhale, exhale, when you arrive at the bottom of the next exhalation, just pause there a little bit longer. And then as you start to inhale through the nostrils, imagine that the breath was rising up via the right side of the body, populating the right side all the way up into the right side of the skull. And then as you exhale through the nostrils, imagine that that exhale is again moving down the right side of the spine, right side of the body, and just notice if you can maybe feel into that right side a little bit more. And then as you inhale this time, moving toward the left side of the body. Just imagining that breath moving up the left side of the spine, all the way up into the left side of the skull. And then as you exhale, allowing the breath to move down the left side of the body, all the way back down to the bottom of that exhale again. And we're just going to repeat that a few times. The inhale is going to migrate up the right side of the body, the spine. And exhale down the right side of the body, right side of the spine. And just notice any feelings that might emerge from that right side. Inhale the left side, all the way up into the left side of the skull. And exhaling down the left side. Good. And then just do that a few more times on your own pace. And as you start to fall into a deeper rhythm of the inhale, moving up and down both sides, just notice with each side if you can start to feel into right and then left. And just notice if there's maybe any slight differences in texture, warmth, whatever might be associated to those areas, spaces, sides of the body. Without doing anything too much with the breath. Just a nice even breath, and imagining the breath moving right side and left side. Do one more full cycle. And then just release that breath, that imaginative process when you move into the bottom of that left side, left exhale. Just notice if there are any overall subtle differences to that perceiving of the spinal column midline. And then when it's appropriate, just starting to blink the eyes, open and closed. And when you're ready, opening the eyes. So that's a little exercise that we can utilize throughout the day, increasing our capacity to feel into movement via the breath, and then integrating that into right side versus left side, and trying to integrate the two sides a little bit more via the three different channels of the body. Right side, left side, and midline of the body. And just noticing the subtleties that come with those three spaces and channels. You don't need a lot of time to move into this type of exercise, and it can be a great way of resetting the day and coming into a sense of stillness, ease throughout this breath and this imaginative process that can be used with just a simple even breath. Hopefully that was helpful. Namaste.